Hello, everyone. My name is Nami, and thank you for being here today. In this presentation, I'll be discussing the Second Industrial Revolution and how it reshaped society in major ways. We're going to look at how new technologies change daily life, how cities grew, how workers responded to poor conditions, and how global connections expanded during this time. So overall, my goal is to show how this period not only transformed economies, but also influenced human rights, education, and the movement of ideas around the world. So with that in mind, let's begin. So the Second Industrial Revolution, which occurred between 1870 and 1914, this led to extensive and rapid industrial and technological growth. Western economies supported the emergencies of new factories, which encouraged people to move from rural to urban areas. So other people moved from one country to another in search of new jobs. However, the increase in new job opportunities often without regulations, expose workers to undesirable work environments. So, this experienced harsh and dangerous working conditions as the wealthy investors focused on exploiting laborers for profits. These challenges inspired the need for social reforms to protect employees' rights and well being. The industrial developments played a crucial role in supporting education, thereby intensifying globalization as people migrated across the world for professional and academic purposes. So this brought big changes as new factories, and now we got new energy sources appeared, and countries in Europe and the Americas began using electricity, which helped them produce goods faster and in much larger amounts. So what first started in Britain soon spread to many other parts of the world. A major breakthrough during this time was the rise of steel. And steel was cheaper, stronger, and more dependable than iron. So it became the main material for building. And because of this, cities did grow really, really quick, building bridges, buildings, and transportation systems, and then technology also advanced in ways that encouraged more buying and selling. And this was the demand for goods, and businesses pushed for better transportation to move these products quickly, of course. All of these developments helped cities expand and became centers of industry and opportunity. Now, migration. So, as soon as people are now moving, it is now cities are growing, and then people moved into all these urban areas, so new local markets formed because there was a higher demand for goods and services, and cities needed steady supplies, so more markets, more businesses. This was all created, and this also improved transportation. And big difference, like better roads, railways, and communication systems allowed this goods and ideas to travel faster across countries. This helped connect communities and supported economic growth. Major European cities like Manchester, Paris, and Berlin, as they did become the busy centers of the industry. And of course, this industry attracted large numbers of immigrants from rural areas where looking for work and new opportunities was now exposed. So then people from many different backgrounds started to interact with each other and started sharing ideas and started having more economic goals. And this is where now the harsh and dangerous experiences happen. This is kind of really the con side of the Industrial Revolution, but there is a brighter side to this. So, according to the Marxist theory, capitalist economies during the Second Revolution led to rivalry between social hierarchies. So, factory owners and investors focus on exploiting human resources to maximize revenue. So, as a result, they overlook the importance of promoting social well being. And with that, the capitalists reduce labor to a mere service and commodity bought and sold in the market. The desire to support economic growth led to unfortunate situations where employers enslave young laborers through debt or poor living conditions. And the decline in overall social well being compelled factory laborers to advocate for improved working conditions, thereby paving the way for social reforms. It's just really, really sad, but this is where hopefully we start bonding together. And as cities grew, new immigrants brought fresh ideas and skills and perspectives. So this created an open environment where information flowed freely. And this led to the rise of new social structures in major European cities. However, these changes also increase social inequalities. Wealthier groups placed themselves at the top of the social ladder, while poorer workers were pushed down to the bottom. This unequal structure led to serious problems such as child labor and the exploitation of factory workers. But now, yay! We are going to stand up for ourselves, right? So, push many workers to stand up for their rights. Factory workers started getting frustrated. They had low pay, unsafe working conditions, and constant exploitation. And now they want to create change. So they organize protests and strikes demanding fair treatment and better wages. So their efforts led to major reforms. Workers gained shorter working hours, reduced wage gaps, and social insurance that helped improve their living conditions. So these changes also led to better nutrition, safer housing, and new workplace protections. As a result, factories were required to introduce safety measures and protect workers from injustice, which is go us. Woohoo. So even though the Second Industrial Revolution created many social problems, it also helped spark major improvements in human rights. So as economies grew, wealth and rights were distributed unevenly, leaving many people disadvantaged. And these unfair conditions pushed workers and their oppressed groups to demand change. So over time, their efforts led to stronger corporate and individual rights in growing urban communities. And the respect for human rights became a key part of modern civilized society. And the increased sharing of ideas helped spread these values across the world. And this way, the second Industrial Revolution played an important role in this early development of human rights as people united to challenge against this, which is great. And then, so in the beginning of the Second Industrial Revolution, education was mostly available only to the wealthy and upper class families. And in the US, schools were very basic. Many had dirt floors, simple wooden desks, and small buildings. But as new technologies grew, there were a greater need for scientific knowledge and skilled workers. So this pushed countries to improve and expand their education systems. And new types of schools were created to teach literacy, moral values, and basic domestic skills to young people. And this skills and everything that we're gaining prepares students for future jobs in factories, businesses, and other developing professions. Kind of like how it all started for us today. So countries began exploring the world to find new resources for their factories. In the US, factories grew quickly because people could move more easily now at this point. And immigrants provided a large supply for, of course, affordable labor. And then both the US and Germany used immigration to move into new industries, which allowed them to compete and even outperform Britain's older factories and outdated technologies. So these countries also invested in new scientific knowledge like fossil fuels and electricity. And this helped, of course, like create more chemical plants and modern factories that produce goods on a much, much larger scale. And then the free trade helped Britain exchange raw materials, goods, and skills with other nations. This strategy kept its industries connected to global markets and supported the growth. And then, of course, so around the Western people from Western, like from all of this revolution, had developed countries around the world to share new scientific and industrial ideas. And these ideas helped shape and connect the global economy. So while Asia and Europe had a long established economic systems, Western nations made rapid progress because of advances in science and industry. Many Asian economies were still pre-modern, which slowed their growth compared to Western nations, but European and American ships traveled to port across non-Western empires, and bringing science-based knowledge meant to influence local economies. And then traders and settlers who were often welcomed by local communities introduced new practices that eventually supported modernization. So, like for example, like Western countries expanded their presence in Africa, opening the continent to global trade. And these actions increased the exchange of raw materials and finished goods, expanding communication and created new markets. And overall, Western industrial powers played a major role in spreading new technologies. And this is my conclusion. So, the second industrial revolution was a major turning point that brought a huge social change. And as industries expanded, many people moved to cities hoping for better jobs and improved living conditions. A new wealthy class emerged, and their mistreatment of workers caused frustration and unrest. So this led to protests that eventually created important, social reforms. And at the same time, education became more important and more accessible, and people shared information more widely than ever before. And Western countries also traveled to pre-industrial regions, bringing new ideas that helped shape global trade and communication, although these changes supported a faster flow of goods, knowledge, and cultural exchange around the world. And so this is the end of my presentation, and I hope you guys had all enjoyed it. Thank you.